I don't think that owning a firearm means you should have to compromise your values just because you don't look like the profile. My identity as a conflicted liberal led me to do some soul searching about who the Second Amendment could work for and who it should ultimately belong to. And that's why my friend and I eventually founded a holster and kit company specifically for progressives. Growing up in a small suburb of Atlanta and having family all over the state of Georgia, I learned from a pretty early age, I would say, that there is a pretty well established culture around gun ownership and training. And that makes sense. I mean, there's a ton of veterans in the South, and I myself grew up a stone's throw away from Dobbins Air Force Base. But what came wrapped up in that kind of culture was a whole set of beliefs about who you were meant to be and what you were meant to think. I remember riding in my dad's car and he had Rush Limbaugh on, and they would talk about Democrats or anybody who wasn't conservative as somebody who wanted to tax all of your money and spend it on other people. A lot of that was racially driven too. And somebody who wanted to divest you of your Second Amendment rights, take your guns, kind of thing. What felt like came as a consequence was that when you stepped out of that sphere of thought, that it felt like you had to give up that right, like you were no longer entitled to it. It was a real us versus them kind of mentality, and it was a narrative that I saw really develop over decades.
So, the subject of being a firearm owner and owning a firearm at all is very divisive among progressives. And it can be to the point where the firearm owner is treated as an adversary, even if this person shares basically all of the same values as your standard progressive person in the United States would.
So there are narratives that dominate the media and politics around firearm ownership. And I really wanted to know if those were actually applicable to everyday people. And when I searched for them online, I found a whole subculture of people who identified both as liberals and as gun owners, which was really interesting to see. I think like 200,000 people. It was super refreshing to see that there were these outlets where we could find so many other people that again and again were asking about how to use firearms, training with firearms. But one thing that people would ask over and over and over is, where can I get some kit? Where can I get gear? Where can I get training? And not buy it from somebody who's going to hand a good portion of that money over to the Trump administration or to causes that, don't align with my values. So I called up my buddy Tyler and I was like, hey, do you think we could do this? And he's like, brother, let's do it.
Here at Trigrd, we believe that the definition of a firearm owner in the United States is changing. And we believe that the Second Amendment doesn't belong to a single ideology or political party. We believe it belongs to everyone. It belongs to you. And we're here to provide a space for that.
So I was researching a lot of polls online about how many people it would actually be who identify as left of center or liberals who also own a gun, and those numbers represent about a little less than half of Republican gun ownership at around 20%. That would put them at around 16 to 18 million people as of 2025. But then if you count left of center independents, that tacks on another 10 to 12 million people. So now we're looking at more like 30 million people. And I think a lot of those people would actually appreciate supporting a company that shares their values and understands that when they give us money, that they're not giving it to somebody that's working against their interests. Another thing we noticed was that when people on these forums would go to YouTube or something to try and find information how to train, how to maintain and manipulate these weapons, a lot of those personalities on GunTube would be on the more conservative end of the spectrum. And we thought it'd be cool to have a place where we can consolidate all that info and be a source for them.
So, some of the most important qualities that I have found are necessary to being a firearm owner is responsibility and accountability. And I think that responsibility carries over for Trigrd into our business model and into what we do with our proceeds, which is why when we started this company, we decided that a portion of all of our proceeds will go to these causes that we believe in and causes that we believe are under attack right now, causes that help people.
The idea is, yes, there's this practical responsibility around gun ownership. There is the responsibility to be safe, maintaining and handling a firearm. But also, I think responsibility extends much further, and I think a lot of the team at Trigrd agrees.
So I have a martial arts background. My whole life, I've taken martial arts. And one of the key tenets of martial arts is you will never use it, ideally. That if you are in a situation that is tense, you diffuse the situation, you de-escalate, and you step back. You never fight unless your life is in danger. The principle is the same for firearms, maybe even more so. You are taught to de-escalate a situation, you are taught to if there is someone antagonizing you, you diffuse the situation. You don't rise to meet it. And I think that's one of the things that really drew me to firearm ownership, was that the principles are the same. It is responsibility and accountability, which, again, are the two main aspects of firearm ownership, for me anyway. Because you are carrying such a powerful weapon, you are responsible to never use it unless your very life is in danger. And with that comes discipline. With that comes training. And with that, you need to have kind of an inner peace to be able to have this responsibility.
Jeez, well, I think that spending money and conducting business is a form of activism. Whether it's BDS, boycott, divest, and sanction, or something a little closer to home. I think what's important to note is that companies understand dollars as being interchangeable with votes, and that's why they spend so much time lobbying. Empowering individuals and corporations that can make things worse for everyday people, for labor, that's sort of irresponsible in my view. And so I want to sort of create an outlet for people who agree.
Because Trigrd is trying to change the conversation and change the narrative around firearm ownership among progressives, we are aiming to create a space for these people to feel validated and supported in their decisions. And with a group of like-minded individuals who also share the same values.
Level 1 Kydex friction holsters are a really good place to start for us, because that's where a lot of the new and non-traditional gun owners are going to start themselves. Whether or not you're thinking about getting a firearm, or now you have this firearm and you don't know what to do with it, and then you progress to sort of thinking, okay, well, maybe I'll start carrying every day, and all the challenges that come along with that. It's really important for Trigrd to be a platform where people can be educated, where they can receive the kind of kit they need guilt-free, and also where we can both sort of start to give back to the institutions that we both value. And I mean, come on, what is more progressive than the idea that the right to defend yourself rests with the individual and not the powerful? I mean, I think it's a pretty progressive idea.